Welcome to Macrocode, and today we are going to show you how to add authorization and authentication with JSON Web Token. So let's start coding. So open Visual Studio 2022, create new project. Then at the top here you can search ASP.NET Web API. This one. Then next. Then you'll choose application. You can call it ASP.NET Web API. Then there we are. We can use .NET 7. Then create. So this is our API. So you can actually run this API. We see how it looks. So we'll be actually using showcasing how to do authentication and authorization with a JSON web token in ASP.NETCORE 7.0. So this is our API. So this is just the normal API. It has a Swagger, which is used to document APIs. Then we have so it has a Swagger. We have our default controller, that is the weather forecast, and it has a get method. So let's get back to our API. So there are two things that we need to do. We need to install some few packages. So to install the NuGet packages, right click on the project, then manage nuggets. Then the first one that we need to install is Microsoft.ASP.NETCORE authentication. So under browse, then we need with the then we install these. Then you can actually install. Ensure you choose the right version depending on the kind of ASP.NET Core version that you have. So you will choose the correct version of NuGet. So you'll see the blue screen, which is showing that we have actually installed. So in this case, I've installed 7.0. So you can actually see on our package here. The next package that we need to install is Microsoft.identity model.token. Identity. Then we need, so the one we want is the identity model. So scroll at the top, then you'll find it, then you install it. So ensure you have searched Microsoft.identity model, then we have installed it. So you can actually see here, so we have 6.2, which is a stable version. So the next is Microsoft.identity model.JWT. So let's see. So we need to install this one, then microsystem. It is actually system.identity model.tokens.jwt. So we'll install this. That is done. So the next step is to set up the app settings.json. So here is the app settings.json. So we need to add a new section here. So we'll add JWT. Then we do this, and we do that. Then we need to provide some key. Can't say key. Then we need to give our key, which is a string. I'm going to paste some code that I had created. So I've pasted this section. So we are going to use it. So we'll be having a key, which is actually regenerated. So I'll paste the link down below. Then we have issuer. Then we have audience. So I'll just copy a snippet of code. So I'll just copy a snippet of code that I already generated. So I'll paste it here. So as you can see, we have the JWT section. We have a key which is auto-generated. Then we have issuer, then audience. So the issuer and the audience is actually using the URL for the API. So if you launch it, so you can see you are using this URL for issuer and audience. So the next thing that you need to set up is our program.cs file. So if you come down here, we have the services, we have the controller, our endpoint explorer, Swagger. So the next thing that you need to do is to add authentication. So we will do this builder.add authentication. Authentication. Say add authentication. Then inside here we say JWT bearer default. Duty bearer. Default authentication. This one need to import something. Authentication scheme, and here we'll do this. Then add JWT bearer options. So we need to define an object here. So we need to set these with some custom properties. So there we are. So we need to find the option.token validation parameters. Then we need to initialize. So we need to tell the API that every time when you receive the request, you need to validate the issuer, validate the audience, the life cycle, the issuer sign key. So this is the validate issuer it is getting from the app settings.json here. Then validate audience is actually getting again from there. So here you're going to do this builder. So it's getting from the configuration. So this is the path to it. So these the values getting from the app settings and the audience. So we are doing this, the services. Yeah, that's fine. So this is what we need on our. So all these values are being found from the app settings there. Remember what we had set up. So the next thing that we need to add, we add a builder services.add MVC. Then we have controllers. I think we have controllers. We can add builder dot services dot add controllers. So I think that is fine. You can add even the razor pages. Services dot add razor. So here we have the authorization. We also need to add authentication and map the controllers. So then here we need to add app.use authentication so that we allow the API to authenticate users. Then we need to now use endpoints.use endpoints and endpoints. I'll close this. Then here we say endpoints dot map controllers. Then we say endpoints dot map razor. So that is it with setting up Program.cs. So the next thing, we need to add some folder for our models. So we'll do this, then models. So we'll create a class called user logins. So I'll paste in some so we'll say user models. So it has a username, password, email address, role, surname, and given name. So you can see this. So you can have these as required. These are required. do that in, what is it? So we have now a user login and a password. So say required. Then lastly, we'll create user constants. So right click here, then say user constants. So we have test1 admin, test1admin at email.com. So this is my passwords, macro code, then roles, administrator and seller. So let's create, so we have a controllers folder. So we'll add another controller, API controller, new item. So we'll come to API controller. So we'll call it a login controller. So it will be inheriting from controller base. So that is it. So the next thing that we need to do is now to inject the I configuration. So we'll do private I configuration, then config, then config, then we'll have our constructor. Let's copy this. So we'll copy this and say config. Then you can have config is equals to config. So the next thing is now we have the login option. So what we'll need to do is provide now that endpoint public action result and login body. Then here we use the user login model that we had created in say user login. So this one we allow anonymous so that user doesn't allow user to have logged in. Then this is a post request. So this one should be like this. So copy this class, the logins. So we'll get user. So we need to create another method called authenticate. Then we pass our user login. So we don't have this method yet, so we'll be creating it. So yeah. So we need to check. So we need to check if this is null. If user equals to null, what it should do, it should get the token. This is not null. If that is not null, then variable token should generate the token. So we'll actually pass the user. Yeah. So after we have found the token, we return. Okay. Okay. Token. So if that's when we found the token. But if we didn't find the user, we can return not found in the message. We say user not found. So let's proceed and create these two methods. So we can so you should generate these two methods. So just do this, generate, then this one. So you have these two methods. So this generate should return a string, and it should take a user model. This one should return a user model. Yeah, so we'll paste in some code here. We'll paste in some code. So the first thing that we need to do is to get the user from the constants. So we are not actually using SQL database. So we just have our list. So if it returns the username that matches the user login that we have passed, and the password is the same, then it will return the user. So these user constants, we had divided with certain users. You can see we have test1, test2. So it will return in the user if the credentials are there. So we are checking if it is not null, then we will return the current user. If it will return null if that is not available. So we are just using this to simulate, but you can actually authenticate this using your ASP.NETCORE identity tables and even SQL tables that you have. So to actually check the data here. So we'll be changing this in our next video, so you can actually watch our next video. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. So the next thing is our generate key. So I'll also copy. So you can see from our code, we have the security key, which is being gotten from the JWT key, which was from app settings. Yeah. Then the credentials, it is actually using HMAC SHA-256 as an algorithm. So this is actually a hashing algorithm. Then we will now put in our data in claims. So the claims is just a name value pair used to store user data. Then we are now getting the token. You can see the issuer and the audience. Then we pass the claims, the expiry date, and the credentials. Then we return we write the token, so it will actually give us a string. can run our code. We see if we can be able to access our API so far. So if we just launch this, so as you can see, we have our API, and we can actually try to log in. So remember our username and password from Constance. So this is our username. You can try. So you can use these, or you can use the Postman. So if you click execute, you can see we have our token. So you can actually also use Postman to try your Postman API login. Then authorization is no authorization, then body. Then you need to choose Json. Then have that, then send. So it requires SSL. So this should be a post. Should be a get. So if we try, you can see it is not allowed. Post. So it is a post request. So this is our on Postman. It is a post request. This is our endpoint. Then the body is this one. So if you send, it will give you a token. You can see we have our token. So back to our application. Let's close this. We can add another controller. Let's create another user controller. So you can call it user. It's an empty. So we are trying now to create another controller to see if we can access that controller if we are authentication. So let's add another endpoint here. Say public action result public. And this one. Then we say we need to is actually a get request, and we can actually have it as public. Then this one should return okay. Then we need to return a message here. We say, hi, you are a public endpoint. So we do that. So if we just run, if you can see we have the user and the user public. So if we just try this and execute, you can see we have our response. Hi, you are a public endpoint. So if you just come to Postman, paste this there, then you send, which is a get, you'll be able to see we have the hi, you are a public endpoint. So you are able to hit that. So if we go back to our endpoint, assuming we want to validate this endpoint and ensure that nobody accesses this endpoint until they are logged in. So remember our login, we have these claims. So these claims actually holds our user details, and every time you make a request, you actually send the token, and we can be able to get the person who is actually logging in. So inside here, you can actually get now the user model get. So we want to get the current user who is actually requesting. So this is our user model. So that is it. So we are looking through the user claims, and you are finding the email, name, username, and roles from the claim types. So we are getting data from the claims and actually mapping it to our user model. So if the name is identifier, we give the username, email, we provide the email from the claims. So if identity is not available, then we return null. So remember, these claims, we actually assign them when we request our first token. So the next thing that we need to do, we need to allow that this endpoint is authenticated. You actually authenticated before you access this endpoint. So at the top here, we want to allow only certain individuals. So you can actually access this if you are admins. Then we need only admin to access this endpoint. Action result. Then you can call admin endpoint. Then you can save. So you can get the current user. Current user is equals to get current user. So we don't have to pass any parameter. Yeah. So this one will return current user. So it will return okay. So if everything goes well, we return an okay message with the current user. So that is it. So you can say hi. You can say do that. Then you can say given name. You say you are you give the role of the user. So current user dot show. So you're able to know the role of the user. So if we execute this, so this is our endpoint. So if we try this and execute, you can see we don't have any role. You see hi. So you see hi, we don't have the current user and the role. So what we need to do is on our endpoint, we need to authorize. So we do this authorize. Yes. So we add this authorize notation so that the API validates all the requests. Then at this point, when we have the valid token, then it will actually get here and actually get the current user. So if we run that, so if we try this again and we do this, it will actually tell us, it will give us a response. You can see for one. So if we do, we copy this link and paste it on our Postman, we'll see it is unauthorized. So we require a token so that you're able to get authorized. So let's just access our previous token. This was a post. So you can see we have this token. So if we use this token, we copy this token, and on authorize we use a bearer token, then we paste it here. Then we pass the admins, then we share. So if we send this API key, bearer token, we have bearer token, then we paste it. Then this should be get. Yes. So we need to have our endpoint here, then come here with the authorization, then bearer token, then paste the bearer token here. Then if you send this, it tells you, hi macro, you are an administrator. So it is actually authenticated and we have the current user. So you can see, hi, this is the name and the role. So it has actually validated our user who is actually requesting our endpoint. So if you go to user constants and check, we have macro is our admin. So if we use the other one, so we can replace this, then we try as another user. So let's log in. So no authentication body, we use the other name, then we send. So this is a post. So we have the token. So if we go back to, we use a post. So we use this one now with the different, we use a seller token, then authorization should be bearer key, then we pass our token. If you send, you'll see here, Bada, you are a seller. So it has actually validated. So you can actually give even the access roles to our endpoint. So if we come to our users, then and authorize, we say the role should be equal to administrator. So if we try this with our seller account, then it should not allow us. So if we do that, you see on our first try, it gave us we are a seller. So if we try this again, you can see it is forbidden. So it has actually restricted. So it will only allow for token. So that is it. So you can see you are actually authenticated, but you are not the person. You don't have the role to actually give you access to these endpoint. So that is it about JSON Web Tokens. See you in our next video. So actually you can create the same endpoint. Let's say for the seller. So you say seller. Here we say we define all of the seller. So we have this role as the seller. So if we run this, so we have the seller and the role and the admin. So if we change our endpoint, you can see we have these endpoints currently. If you execute it, you are forbidden until you pass the. So if we try this with now our token, you can see it has gone through. Hi over there, you are a seller. So you can be able to access it. So that is it about authentication and authorization with a JSON Web Token. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing and watching our videos. See you in our next video. Bye. It will have the username and password.